So 151 Pokemon Center ETBs have just hit another milestone, and this just even further cements how far Pokemon Center ETBs can really go and why you should probably be buying Prismatic Evolutions Pokemon Center ETBs. You guys know I bought a large amount on the recent restocks, and you guys should still be doing that if you haven't already. And this is just even more proof to show that, you wait for Prismatic Evolutions in a couple years. You may see Prismatic Evolutions do somewhat similar numbers to this. Maybe not exact numbers, but who knows? Maybe in 2 years it goes crazy and even surpasses it. But just looking at 151 and how it's been performing for the PCETB recently, if you're not buying Prismatic Evolutions PCETBs, I don't know what you're doing. So as you can see here, 151 PCETB is the lowest listed right now on TCG Player is pretty much $700. And if you go check recent sales data, you can see they have been selling for pretty much $700. Obviously, market price hasn't adjusted because there hasn't been enough sales for it to adjust. The market price usually lags behind for PCETBs and just for higher value items because it needs more volume for the market price to actually change. But if you look at recent sales, and it has hit 700. If you go on eBay, you will find more listed for 700. But it is interesting to see on eBay that they're all pretty expensive, and you're not going to really get any discounts, even though they just basically hit $700. So if you check right now on eBay, there actually aren't many for $700. In fact, they're pretty much non-existent. If you look here, so you can see lowest listed on the top of this page is $800. And there's one right here with just a normal ETB for about 1,000. So I guess if you do the math and subtract the normal ETB, I guess then it'd be around 700 here. But 800, these are all on bid, so it's hard to tell. The cases, you can see a sealed one's listed for $4,000. It hasn't sold yet though. Another one here listed for around 3,000, which honestly, if you do the math now, right now they're selling for 700 times 4 because there's 4 ETBs. That's actually not that bad. So this, in my opinion, probably will sell sometime soon because 151 was one of those sets where you could get a sealed case, so it wasn't as hard. So there's not as much of a premium as you could say for Prismatic Evolutions, having that case premium or whatever. So there is one here that you're not really paying much of a premium at all. So you can buy this if you want, if it's still available. One's here listed for around 800, one's listed here for around 900, and you can just see there really isn't that many. I guess there's one here for 700, but there's actually not that many listed for $700. So if you do want to actually buy a PC ETB, it is going to be cheapest on TCG Player, most likely at $700. Now, if you go see the sales, or the sellers, you can see these are pretty reputable sellers. They're not gold star sellers or anything, but you can see their feedback seems to be reputable. But if you can find a listing on eBay for $700 and you can actually see the condition of the PC ETB and actually look at it, then that'll probably be better. I always give that advice that if you're buying a high value item, if you can go on eBay and find it for the same price or even cheaper than on TCG Player, and you actually get photos of the exact product, it's much better. But you can see on eBay here, there's not that many listings that are really none that are actually cheaper than TCG Player. So I did find this one listing that I showed you guys, and there was one that was a bit cheaper, but I just found this one that was 800. It's from a seller that seemingly is kind of reputable. I saw their account was made in like 2019 or something. There's one for 800, but I did find one for 700 up down here. So we can actually check this one out because I thought that was the cheapest one. But this person, yeah, they seem to have good feedback. You might want to ask to see if it has any tears or rips. But there are some around the amount or around the same cost as TCG Players. So I'd probably buy something like this if I was going to buy one, but that's just my opinion. But this one seems to have a little bit of damage on the box, and at this price point, you probably do care about condition, so there is like a little dent there. Now, if we go to sold listings, you can see they are actually selling for this amount. It's not only TCG Player. Recently, one sold for 700. One here sold for much more. I feel like this might be some shill bidding maybe because this was like $1,000. Here's one sold for 700, 700. These sold for like 630, and this one sold for like 700. So these have just recently hit $700, and there's just a lot of sales data proving that this is really a $700 PCETB. Now, just to show you guys this, 151 PCETB and the prices and how they've recently skyrocketed. Just a few months ago, they were $500, and that was already crazy enough. Now they're $700. I mean, guys, if you really are investing and you can, hold on to a product for a few years, buying prismatic Pokemon Center ETBs at $220, $230, and you can even find locally still for $200 is a very good idea. And if you look at even other PCETBs, they're all performing extremely well. So, at this point, we've already gotten 2 restocks of Prismatic Evolutions PCETBs. In my opinion, it is highly unlikely that we see another, restock, because we've never really seen that. A third restock for PCETBs, very unlikely. I was very surprised we even got a second one. So as you can see, this is the first restock. You can see it went down all the way to around 220s, 230s, around there. Or this is actually the wrong with the graph here. So this is the first restock. It went down to like 235, and this just recent restock has gone all the way down to 210. But just recently it's gone back up a little bit. It's at 220. But like I said, locally you can still find these for $200. I've been able to find some around me for $200, and I'm honestly, thinking about picking up some more. I did tell you guys and show you guys recently that I had bought some more regular ETBs because I've been finding them for $85, which at this point I'm not really finding any listings for just normal ETBs for $85 anymore, because that's a really good price, and that's why I bought them. And now there's really none around me, because normal ETBs right now are going for around like 110. So yeah, buying at $85 is pretty good, because at that rate I'm buying for less than 80% of market value, which for prismatic is pretty good for the ETB. Now the PC ETBs at 200, if you can still buy them locally, obviously you're saving on taxes and stuff, and you're paying under market. So it's still worth it in my opinion if you want to buy this, to just check locally, because you can get a deal in some cases, and if you can buy in larger quantity, will save you time, going around and just meeting up with multiple sellers, which I wanted to avoid. But since I had just bought all those normal prismatic ETBs, I'd be fine just finding somebody that is selling maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 of these, paying just $200 each, and that'll probably be it, because I have a decent amount of these. I mean, you guys can check the video I made where I shared that I had bought these PCETBs, and I had paid pretty good price for them. And even now on the second restock, it's still like a pretty good buy that I did, and I was able to meet up with just one person and buy a large quantity, which was easy. So now I'm probably gonna look, and maybe I'll buy a few more of these, because I would like to add some more, because I just know $200 for this ETB is going to be seen to be very cheap in a few years. It's just time, and just any indication of how this is going to perform. Look at 151 piece of ETBs and how high they've gotten recently, and think about where Prismatic is going to be in a few years. So that's all I want to share with you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one.